Welcome back to another one of my videos. We're blue lining for Tennessee trout again, and I've got maps to 23 streams that are filled with wild trout in the Smoky Mountains National Park. Blue lining is a term used by old die-hard fly fishermen like me. Back before the internet, GPS, or car screens that told you how to get somewhere, I had to dig through maps and trace out where there might be some fish and hard to reach streams. That's where the term blue lining began and how it became to be used. I have quite a collection of old blue line maps. I mentioned earlier, I used to jot down everything everywhere I went, often revisiting places 4 or 5 times and taking notes each time. I'd bring these notes along on my trips, and over time I've incorporated them into detailed maps. These maps are now part of the series that I'm putting together as videos, and they're also included in the final maps you'll see in this video. And streams featured in this video can be found in both of these 2 brochures. The Tennessee Wild Trout Streams brochure is out of production and pretty hard to find. But the Great Smoky Mountains Fishing Regulations brochure includes maps showing every single stream and what to fish and where the fish are in it. That brochure is easy to get at any park entrance, visitor center, online. You can have it sent to you. At the very end of this video, all the maps are shown, cropped, and ready to print. You can save them on your phone for trips, edit to them, send them straight to a printer from your phone or your computer, and they're completely free to use and share. I'm mapping remote backwoods streams that few people ever try to fish, and some are pretty tough to reach since many don't have any designated trails alongside the stream or anywhere close to them. We're after some of the smallest fish in the park, and if you catch one that fits in your hand, that's a great haul. Just like the ones in the photograph, they'll all average around 6 inches. I created the maps that are in this video by using U.S. Geological Survey topographical maps as the base, which I modified. And you can download digitally from their website, totally free, any of the maps that I used. I have also included the name of each specific quadrangle map that was used when I modified and created my personal map. There are 8 maps, which will include 23 total streams, all of them being inside the boundaries of the national park on the Tennessee side. And I found this old photo, and the saying, every picture tells a story, and I can just hear the boy behind the driver. What's the hold up back there? We're burning daylight. Let's get going. And the old gentleman that is sitting beside the driver, he's holding all the fishing poles so they don't break. And just take a look at all the grins on all their faces. This first map that I'm showing highlights about 4 to 5 miles of easy walking along a trail that's alongside Lynn Camp Prong. There are also shown about 3 creeks without any designated trails, and they'll make them hard to reach or even try to fish in. Panther Creek, however, does have its own trail. The Middle Prong Trail follows the old railroad bed of the Little River Railroad and Lumber Company. It operated between 1901 to 1939. This route that you're walking on traces the tracks that once used to haul the logs from out of this valley that you're walking in down to Townsend, Tennessee. And also there's an abandoned 1920s Cadillac that's right beside the trail. I've located it on the map for you. This second map It highlights Meg's Creek and a little stream called Curry Prong. You can reach Meg's Creek by taking the Meg's Creek Trail from the Sinks. For a little bit more adventurous option here, you can follow the Curry Mountain Trail up to Curry Gap and then head down Curry Prong. It's remote, it's hard to reach area with no designated trail whatsoever. You can be fishing your way downstream until it meets back up with Meg's Creek. And from there, it's a downhill hike along the creek's trail, back to the trailhead and the parking lot at the Sinks. Map number 3. This is the Little Briar Branch, and it's pretty much a straight trail up the mountain. I'd start down there at the Little Briar School and walk between it and the Walker sisters' home, following the creek, and then back down. And ending the day at the Metcalf Bottoms picnic area is a pretty good idea. Pack a lunch if you start in the morning, and enjoy a hot cup of coffee at the end of the day if you started midday. I carry a small stove burner and a pot, so I brew coffee wherever I go. I end a lot of my days that way. And the Walker sisters' home is definitely worth visiting. Built by John Walker in the 1870s. It became the home to 3 sisters who lived there their entire lives. While one married and moved away in 1941, all 6 sisters spent much of their lives in the cabin. But when the national park was established, the 3 sisters refused to leave and were granted a lifetime lease. The cabin remained occupied until the last sister, Louisa, passed away in 1964. Map number 4. Now this includes Fighting Creek, Hickory Flats, Barton, and Spring Branch. With the section of Fighting Creek that I recommend is located upstream from the Fighting Creek Gap Road. There's no real good parking, and it's very hard to access. Matter of fact, all 4 stream areas that I've shown do not have any designated trails, and they're very hard to access. But while you're there, check out the John Ownby Cabin. It's a historic single-story structure built around 1860. It's the last remaining building from the old Sugarlands community, which once had at least 25 homesteads, a church, a school, and a couple of stores. The park's visitor center, headquarters, parking lot, and maintenance buildings that you just passed to get here now sit on the flat ground that was once the heart of that community. Okay, this time we're on map number 5. Cover Sam's Creek and Thunderhead Prong. We're back to where we started with the first map of Lynn Camp Prong. We're using the same trailhead, parking lot up there at the end of Treedmont Road. An interesting detail is the bridge you cross. It's a modern steel bridge, but it sits atop the original abutments that are well over 100 years old. This new steel has replaced a logging railroad bridge that was used in the early 1900s by the railroad lumber company I mentioned earlier. As soon as you cross a bridge, instead of heading up Lynn Camp Prong, turn right onto Thunderhead Prong, quiet walkway. It's just under a mile, and it ends where Sam's Creek meets the Thunderhead Prong. There's no official trails along either creek, and you'll spend most of your time in the water. The large boulders will make it tough hike, so be careful. You might even catch a few rainbows this time on the Thunderhead side. Now we're on map number 6. It's Jake's Creek, Middle Prong, and the Little River. All are near the Elkmont historical area. There's a very large campground with plenty of facilities, and a trail from the campground takes you through an old ghost town of homes that the logging crews were living in, housing provided by the logging companies back in the day. Later on, after they moved out, the wealthy visitors that were visiting the park during the Depression, they came through and they built their own cabins or little second homes or whatever you want to call it, where they would come to the mountains and stay there. Now, as you enter the main campground, you will pass what's left of the Wonderland Hotel. It was a wealthy resort built in 1912. In the 1920s, the area became part of the national park. Then the park took over the land. The hotel, already in decline, closed that same year. After years of disrepair, once boasting 26 guest rooms and a dining hall, it collapsed in 2005 and it was finally demolished in 2006. Map number 7. We're dealing with Walker Camp Prong and Alum Cave Creek. And it doesn't get much easier than this as far as fishing in the backcountry, because I've shown you designated parking spaces that are highlighted in green along the paved road. It's anywhere along each one of those locations, it's just about 50 feet or so down to the creek, and those are accessible ones. The gray ones, or the creek's too high, or it's an embankment or something. And but other than every now and then you have to navigate a steep hillside to get down to the water. But I suggest starting up at the top where there's a pull out and a parking on either side of the last bridge before you get to Newfoundland Gap. And get into the water there, follow the creek, go downhill, and then a couple of spaces down, just a little ways, just come on out of the creek, and it's a paved, flat, asphalt walk back to your vehicle. It can't get better than that after you've done hiked and stumbled over a bunch of logs and boulders and what have you down in that creek bed. But now, while you're up there, while you're near Newfoundland Gap, it's worth a visit. You should drive on up, turn around, come back, and just remember that Franklin D. Roosevelt gave a speech there in 1940. Formally dedicating the national park to the public. And it's hard to imagine when you stand there on top of that big open parking lot up there today that there were 10,000 people gathered there, and just to hear that gentleman speak. Okay, this is map number 8, and it's the last one that I put together for this video. This actually is showing we're taking up on the same creek bed of the Walker Camp Prong in map 7, but it has now turned into the west prong of the Little Pigeon River, and it's flowing all the way down into Gatlinburg. The road here offers easy access to 3 very hard to traverse streams: Cold Creek, Bear Hollow, Trout Branch, with designated parking areas marked in green there on the map. The Road Prong Creek is the real name of it, runs alongside much of the Chimney Tops Trail. And a good approach to doing this one is to head up to Newfoundland Gap, go on over and arrange with a 2-vehicle setup with a buddy system somewhere, a drop off, and the other one left below down at the loop over trailhead, and start at the top of the mountain on the Appalachian Trail and fish that creek all the way downhill. And an interesting feature of this area is that loop over construction. And in 1934, when the engineers are facing a difficulty in how they were building this road, and the river below avoided a steep and hard to navigate switchbacks for automobiles if they were trying to build that and avoid it, but they used a design that's used quite often by the railroads all across the United States to ease steep climbs. And this adaptation allowed the highway to be built without extreme grades or sharp turns. Inside the national park, there are 77 miles of creeks that can hold a wild brook trout. This isn't the total number of rivers and streams that are in the park, but some are temporarily closed periodically to support the brook trout restoration efforts. aimed at bringing back this little bitty fish back to the Smokies. And if you're typically a hard-working individual and you have a limited time or only get one trip a year to the Smokies to fish, don't get disappointed by finding a closed stream when you get there and counting on a certain place and planned out your trip. Check ahead before you trip and choose a different spot if you don't waste your valuable vacation time. The park's fishing is open year round, and you'll need either a Tennessee or North Carolina license. And you can use a North Carolina license in Tennessee or vice versa within the national park. No bait of any type is allowed. Trout under 7 inches must be released, which is fine by me since I'm all about catching and releasing wild trout. There's plenty of stock trout elsewhere in Tennessee to fill my freezer at the house. Well, speaking from experience, a good map will get you to a good place to fish, and pretty much regardless of what the conditions are when you get there. When I found this photo, I showed it to one of my grown daughters, and she laughed and she said, "That lady's got a gun slung over her shoulder as natural as I carry a purse shopping." Thanks for watching. As I promised, the next few slides will contain all the maps that you've already seen, already formatted to fit your screen. To save them to your phone, just pause the video, and once the screen is stopped, tap it so that the YouTube prompts at the bottom disappear. Before taking the screenshot, of course. If you're printing from your phone or your computer and the print preview cuts off part of the map, select Shrink to Fit instead of Fill Page for a full map on one sheet. Each of the following maps will stay on the screen long enough for you to pause and capture your screenshots.